Hello, everybody. Thank you for clicking on American Doofus channel. Doofus After Dark, Monday, the 10th day of April, 5 days until taxes are due. If you have not paid your taxes yet, if you've not done your taxes yet, you've still got 5 days. Hello to everyone in the chat, watching people win or fail. Good evening. Paw Patrol. Thank you, Paul. Good to see everybody here. Let me put a quick note into the chat. First Monday of the week, yes. Thanks for clicking on. Let's see. First Monday of the week. I like bikes. Thank you for watching. Thank you for clicking on. Greatly appreciate it. Whether you're in the chat, you're watching, or you're watching on at your convenience at a later time. Thank you for choosing to spend a little time here on a Manic Monday. A lot of stuff to discuss, and we'll see what chat is thinking. Hi, She-Hawk. Thank you for being here. Hi, Laura. I'm going to start out with, I usually do a little bit of kind of a lead-in thing. And, okay, hold on. What do we got? No, let's do this. Hold on. Okay, they've switched my they switched my controls around on me in my software here. Start out with this. Oh, take two. Run it back and.
I'm retiring.
Well, in that case, what are we drinking?
Same for the goddaughter.
Dad told me you found something. On a train during the war. A dial that could change the course of history.
Why are you chasing the thing that drove your father crazy? Don't move.
We need to get out of here. Stop! Sorry.
Helena! Dr. Jones, get him. Hitler made mistakes, and with this, I will correct them all. You stole it. Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
This way!
Fasten your seatbelts. There might be some turbulence.
You've taken your chances, made your mistakes. And now, a final triumph.
Give him hell, Indiana Jones! A few times in my life, I've seen things. I've been tortured with voodoo. Been shot 9 times, including once by your father. Sorry! But I've been looking for this all my life.
There you go. Indiana Jones and the, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Doofus dog had a little barking attack in the middle of that, but has calmed down. That's from Lucasfilms preview they just released this past weekend, and better than the first trailer that they released. The first trailer, I left kind of a mumbled jumble feeling to me. This one kind of gives you an idea of the story, and it was brighter. The other one was dark, and you had trouble picking things out, I think. But this one So, Amanda Cox, hey. Yes, I remember you watching from Liverpool over across the pond. Thank you, Amanda. Yes, thank you for being here. And of course, I remember you. Paul, I will watch that in theaters. I think I will too. Very rarely do I go to a theater to watch a movie, but that one I probably will. I'm a longtime Indiana Jones fan. Amanda mentions that she's a sub from Buddy. Buddy East Coast is a channel that I was led to this past weekend. Really talented guy, and going to try to get him on the show. I was kind of hoping that he'd contact me and we'd have him on tonight because I don't have a guest set up for tonight, but that's all right. I got something else in mind anyway. But I'd really like to have him come on. Really talented musician. I'd like to, have him come on, hear his story, and have him do a couple of songs. And I'd like to do a song with him if we could work something out. And just kind of help him build his channel up a little bit. And I think we would probably find that the people that enjoy his channel might enjoy mine. The people that enjoy my channel might enjoy his. So look for something in the future, possibly from with Buddy, East Coast Buddy East Coast. Even wore the Indiana Jones. No, this is not. This is not an Indiana Jones hat. I'm wearing the hat because when I got out of the shower, my hair kept falling down in front of my face. So that's really why I've got the hat on tonight. It's not really an Indiana Jones hat. It is kind of, I guess, a little bit, but that's not the intent. Ox, he was jamming last night. No, no. Buddy is different. Buddy's not Telescope or Ox. No, Buddy's a totally different person. Really good guitar player. Really what I'd like to do. I'd like to sing a song with him if he comes on the show. I want him to do a couple, and then I'd like to sing a duet with him. It's a little bit easier to synchronize vocally when you're doing things over the internet than it is instrumentally. I have found anyway. So, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Bad hair day. Yeah, that happens, Paul. Bad hair days on occasion. So Indiana Jones trailer starting things off tonight. And I think it looks good. I was kind of confused. The first trailer I saw was about a month ago when it came out. And I wasn't sure if it was like, is this going to be a time travel movie? Is this going, what are they going to do here? Or, is this going to destroy Indiana Jones? Are they going to, kill Indiana Jones and end this, somehow worse than they ended it in Crystal Skull? But I think I've got hope. I've got hope for the Indiana Jones music. Live music with Buddy East Coast is the name. There we go. Thank you. Michelle, Amanda. Live music with Buddy East Coast is the name of the site. And they're, Michelle has the link up for those that are interested. Hey, Hot Mess Summer. Sadly, our first story tonight is going to be dealing with what happened in Hot Mess Summer city of Louisville. That'll be our first story once we get to it. A lot of stories tonight, but let's just go ahead and jump into that one. If you do not know, there was a mass shooting today in Louisville, Kentucky this morning about Between 8:30 and 8:45, the alleged mass shooter is named Connor Sturgeon. He was an employee at Old National Bank. The shooting took place at Old National Bank. This story is being covered by almost all media. So I'm not going to go too in depth into this because you'll be able to find this. You'll be able to find something on this anywhere and everywhere. Right, this is off of Riot Heart's page because there's no such thing as a good thing about a mass shooting happening anywhere. By the way, the mass shooting in Louisville means that we've had a mass shooting. We've had the same number of mass shootings in the United States as we've had days this year. We are averaging one mass shooting a day in our country. It's becoming almost unnewsworthy because it's happening so frequently. This was an attack on a board of directors at a bank by a former employee, and this comes at a time when those that live in this area, Indianapolis and Louisville, we're like an hour and 15 minutes apart. The interstates connect us. And a lot of Louisville people come to Indy. A lot of Indy people go to Louisville, especially in coming up. Louisville has an incredible fireworks display. It's called Thunder Over Louisville, and it's coming up. And right after Thunder Over Louisville is the most exciting 2 minutes in sports, the Kentucky Derby. So Louisville is prepping for two of its absolute major events, and wakes up on this Monday morning to a mass shooting after the mass shooting that became publicized last week in Nashville. There was a mass shooting in Delaware on Sunday that didn't make the news. There was a second shooting in Louisville shortly after shooting in Louisville, shortly after the first shooting. Second shooting took place at Chestnut Street and 8th Street at the Junior College Technical Center in Louisville. Another person killed.
They believe the shooters they're clearing room by room.
This is an active shooter situation? It's not. Is that a no or no comment?
Shooter is gone. So that was happening while the other scene in Louisville was being processed. You're not going to hear a whole lot about the second one. That's going to be downplayed because the focus is going to be heavily on that first shooting. The governor had a couple of friends on that board of directors at that bank, and is feeling this loss on a very personal scale. Again, that footage there came from Maxwell Mitchell and Riot Heart, our very own Summer Dickerson. These are people that cover and are on the streets of Louisville. And so we're fortunate in that we get a different look at some of the stories because of the connections we have. And I highly recommend you tune into Summer's page, Summer's streams, specifically coming up with what's been happening in Louisville and what's going to happen. Because, like I said, there's going to be some incredible events happening in Louisville in the next coming weeks. It's the focus of national attention now, and not in a positive way. But keep an eye on Summer's channel, because Summer will be putting out some great stuff. She always does. Every Wednesday night, tomorrow night, she'll be out on the streets of Louisville helping people, as she does every Wednesday night. With all that being said, one mass shooting a day. Now, there are three different sites that track mass shootings, and each one of the three sites has different criteria. Basically, it's the number of people that lost their lives. So the second shooting in Louisville today, on one of the sites, won't count as a mass shooting, even though someone was killed and another person was injured. It's not enough to count. I don't know. We're going to have to have a conversation at some point. Our friend Telescope has some unique, if not troubling, sarcastic ideas. Is this what we want as a country? Is it too late to do anything about it? I don't have answers. I've got questions, and I'm very open to listen to people who think they have answers, and we're going to do that coming up. We're going to have. I'll do it right now. If anyone would like to be on a panel, a serious panel that. I don't want clowns. I'm sorry. I don't want clowns. If you'd like to have a serious discussion, you have some ideas, or even if you don't have any real ideas, you would like to verbalize your feelings on what's going on in our country, and gun violence. Second Amendment, all of these things that play into the romanticizing of guns, the overabundance of guns. Now, there will be those that argue that we don't have an overabundance of guns, but again, I invite you on the show. If you'd be interested in a panel, the email is real simple: americandufus, all one word, AMERICANDUFUS @gmail.com. Let me know. And now, I'm not going to have, if you watch the show, I'm going to have 3 or 4 people on, maybe at the most, and it'll probably be me and 2 others. But I don't know. It depends. And we may have to have more than one, because people may want to talk about this now. We need to have a conversation, in my opinion. All right. So all of that, with that being said, let me hop back over to the chat for a second. Lori Arnold, we should have a conversation, Doofus. I would love to be on a panel with you and some others. Lori, you come on here anytime. You know that. You can come on here anytime. You can pop on here right now in the middle of things, and I'll totally stop, and you and I will talk. But yes, we will have that conversation. and I look forward to that as well as Shelley G. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's the answer. Banning guns. You can ban guns, but I doubt the bad guys are just going to say, okay, I'll hand them in. At this point, I think it's a must that people have them to protect themselves. I understand that. That's why I have mine. Well, that's why I have a couple of mine. I shouldn't say that. The reason I actually have guns to begin with is because they were either a gift from my father or passed down from my father when he passed away. Not Now I've got other guns that I've bought, and they're specifically for protection, and they were purchased at a time when I lived on a 10-acre mini farm, a secluded place that a couple of times had people drive up onto the place that were not welcomed and were not invited. And I've had to discharge my firearm, not in their direction, not at them, but I guarantee you when the gun went off, they did not think about what make of gun it was or caliber or anything. As soon as the gun was discharged, their vehicle was in reverse and they were gone. So it can be a deterrent, and I will say that openly. And we're not going to get into the discussion tonight because I got too much other stuff to talk about tonight. Summer says that won't fix anything. This is going to take many things to fix this problem. Anonymous user, welcome. Thank you for being here. Any military-style weapon with high-round magazines, aka assault weapons, should be banned. I'll tell you what. While Anonymous's user is here, I want to point something out. We do the Twitter scroll, and I just want to make sure that everybody understands that you don't necessarily always have to in order to be effective, it's not necessarily about a weapon, okay? Or a firearm, I should say, because there are many things that can be used as a weapon. Let me pull this up so it won't quit on me. But this is our first little taste of our Twitter scroll for tonight, and this comes from Anonymous Operations on Twitter, and I thought it's something that should be heard.
This is a message to the GOP from Anonymous. We gave you warnings. We gave you time to adjust your actions to meet the wants and needs of the people. In that time, you have used the majorities you hold in states to expel members of Congress. You passed laws to inspect transgender children's genitalia. Yeah. You have overstepped, and now we can share what we did with that time. Anonymous has a dark web database where information is posted to the world and the collective. I cannot say its web address here thanks to TOS guidelines. We are going to call this dark web database the bin. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
For those that don't know, TOS is term of service.
Might recognize the passwords Borts and Pruin 7 because MTG has had all of her information breached and posted on the bin. Lauren Bobert Blessed 77, you are on the bin. Clarence Thomas, your Pornhub account is on the bin. Remember, human rights and civil rights are not negotiable.
You're anonymous. We are Legion. Expect us.
So there we go. Our first little wait a minute. What? Our first little taste of Twitter tonight. Wait a minute. Give me back. Okay. So, as we always do, giving you something to think about. Do they even know their information's been hacked yet? Is that going to be the FAFO, if you will, the FARG around and find out that will possibly lead to some sanity within our government? People are not happy. People are not happy with our government. People are not happy with each other in our country. It's something to think about. There are people that are not happy with fascist tendencies. There are people that are not happy with government that promotes the rich and ignores the needy. There are people that are not happy with education being thwarted while ignorance is championed. There are people that are not happy that hate is lauded and love is despised. And there are people that fight silently. And there are people that are on the front lines. And we see those people on the front lines. And we have to respect those people on the front lines that are fighting for change. Now, there's two sides. And at the moment, a lot of people are fighting for change on each side. I respect the fact that they're fighting for change on each side. I don't agree with what one side wants to take everything backwards, everything. Women's rights, the rights of the Black community, the rights of other minority communities, including the rights of those that don't see sex as in the same manner as they do. There are a lot of people wanting to take us as a society, as a world, backwards. There are a lot of people that are pushing back against all of that. It is a potential time of conflict, hostility, and trouble. And it's a time to, in my opinion, it's a time to realize that we're not playing games, okay? Myself included. I'm telling myself this because, I've done the Doofy Awards. I've done, we've made fun of stuff. We've had, while we are, we're doing this online and we're doing a lot of this for entertainment and we have fun and we do make jokes and we do things. When push comes to shove, bottom line is this is not a game. And somebody is going to end up getting hurt, if not killed. And maybe multiple people getting hurt and not killed because people are Some people are not taking things seriously while others take it very seriously. Some people are playing chess while others are playing tiddlywinks, not even playing checkers. And this is something that's been on my mind for a bit. And again, it's something that I just think we might need to think about and talk about. So let's move on. And before I get back to Twitter, and actually I'll do the mainstream breaking news first, I wanted to bring this up. This is from Conservative Daily, and a hat tip to one of the viewers that directed me to this article. Article is entitled, again, this is from Conservative Daily. Article is entitled "Of Patriots and Grifters: How a Low-Rent Hustler and a Nazi Sympathizer Deceived the People's Movement for Personal Enrichment." Again, this comes from Conservative Daily. I'll read just a little bit of it. Every misfortune opens the gate for opportunists seeking power, glory, and cold hard cash. The arrests and ongoing incarcerations resulting from the events of January 6th are no exception. Whether you believe there was an outright insurrection and coup at the Capitol, or you believe the Americans exercised their First Amendment right to redress, some did. What they believed was a stolen election, what they believed because they were lied to, the big lie. What you may not know is that the arrests continue at an average of one per day, nearing 950. But that's a story for another day. The indicted individuals have come to be known as J6ers, and their families face immense, unanticipated burdens. When you take part in an insurrection, if it is unsuccessful, there will be immense burden upon your family. You should have suspected that or expected that. The indicted individuals, some of these burdens have been relieved by several fundraising organizations quickly established to provide legal aid, family assistance, and commissary funding for the incarcerated. Critically, these organizations also work to counter the unambiguous narrative and drive public awareness of J6ers' plight, to counter our national soundbite attention span problems. I will agree with that. We have a soundbite attention span of goldfish sometime. According to several, not my viewers, thankfully, according to several of the incarcerated and their families, as well as people working for some of these organizations, millions of dollars have been raised on behalf of these men and women and their families today. Show me the money. Show me the money. Show me the money. So, why are so many J6ers without private legal defense 2 years after the event? One of the first of these organizations to appear was called the Patriot Freedom Project, the PFP, founded by a woman named Cynthia Hughes, after her self-described adopted nephew, Timothy Hale Cusinelli, was arrested early in 2021 for the involvement in J6. Okay, keep in mind that was her nephew. Okay, wait, I went too far. Operated as, doing business as Hughes, under Hughes' existing 501c, the Hughes Foundation, not the huge, but Hughes, originally set up to address the needs of the J6 families. PFP soon evolved into a legal defense fund. Hughes and collaborators worked to position PFP as the face of the J6 legal defense movement, and she reached out to families of those incarcerated with her nephew, promising to pay for their legal representation by private attorneys and helping them families pay bills and put food on the table. According to her LinkedIn profile, the New Jersey-based Hughes has worked for an auto distribution call center in Germantown, Tennessee for the last 16 years, but claims she is, quote, committed to customer satisfaction and is detail-oriented. J6 families vehemently disagree with that. Let us cut back here if we can to, let me cut back here to bookmarks, cut back to Twitter, and there we go. Let us, here we go, cut back here real quick. From Ron Filipkowski, of course, those that watch the program know that I highlight Ron's tweets quite often. J6 inmate John Mellis tells supporters that $500,000 in proceeds from their J6 choir song with Trump has been stolen by Cynthia Hughes. This is his allegation. This is not mine personally. This is not the show's. This is a report. Quote, 14 of us wrote letters to Kash Patel telling him not to give her that money. We need Kash Patel, Donald Trump, and Steve Bannon to give her the boot. So I found this rather odd, this Cynthia Hughes person. As we always do on this, this is just giving you something to think about. Probably some of you in chat that are much more closely following these things than I have been of late, or at J6 or the J6 thing at all. What happened there? Okay, we're back. You might already know Cynthia, but I just find it odd. She's connected now to Bannon, Patel, and even Trump, and Trump and the J6 choir put a song out, and made a whole bunch of money for an absolutely crappy recording. So there's that. Let's run down the scroll. This is from Leah. Her comment: Republicans don't care if mass shooters kill police. 26-year-old Nicholas Wilt graduated from the police academy on March 31st. This is the officer. 2 officers were taken to the hospital in the Louisville shooting today. This officer had been on this was his 4th day. He had just graduated from the academy on the 31st, and this is the chief of police, and she had just sworn him in. This was his 4th shift of duty. He was shot in the head and in critical but stable condition, and we're thankful for that. Somebody going into the police force, there's all the F12, all the ACBC, yeah, all cops are bad cops. Maybe it's my age, where I'm at, whatever, or pigment of skin. But I've had run-ins with really bad cops, and I've had run-ins with decent human beings that are wearing a uniform. Maybe I'm gullible, maybe I'm naive, but I still believe there are both. And in a time such as this, I'm going to not be cynical, and I'm going to be try to be a little more glass half full kind of person, and say that I'd like to think this young man was trying to make a difference in his community, and he ends up getting shot 4 days into the job. Um, wait a minute. 26-year-old officer is clinging to life, having undergone brain surgery after being struck in the head by a bullet in Louisville. Mass shooting earlier today. Graduated from the academy 2 weeks ago. And from all accounts, Louisville Metro Police did an outstanding job in getting to the location today and in taking the shooter down within 2 to 3 minutes of it all starting, and more than likely saving lives. Now, I want to go back to this from this was recorded after Nashville, which was just last week when the 3 kids and 3 adults were shot at the school. And let's listen to this real fast.
3 precious little kids lost their lives, and I believe 3 adults, I believe it is. And the shooter, of course, lost their life too. So it's a horrible, horrible situation. And we're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals. My daddy fought in the Second World War, fought in the Pacific, fought the Japanese, and he told me, he said, buddy, he said, if somebody wants to take you out and doesn't mind losing their life, there's not a whole heck of a lot you can do about it. 3.
The key phrase in there is, we are not going to do anything about it. I don't know if you heard him say that, but that's what he did. South Korean Ministry of National Defense has announced that they are preparing response options and contingencies for what they are now saying is most likely a purposeful break in communications from the North Korean government. What that means, every day at 5 a.m. and at 9 p.m. their time, the South Korean and North Korean representatives pick up the phone and have a connection call twice a day, just to keep the lines open, just to make sure that if anything needs to be communicated, it can be. North Korea has cut off all communication effective last Thursday. You're not going to hear about this on mainstream or anything, but it is concerning. And so it is concerning enough that South Korea is preparing response options and contingencies. You don't prepare response options unless there's going to be something to respond to, and you have contingencies depending on what the response necessitates. So there's a lot going on in the world, and one of the things I'm not even showing, I got a clip from this that was sent to me. This scientist talking about how humanity's not going to survive past 2026. So yeah, I'm not even showing that because that's there's so much other stuff that we don't even get into that until tomorrow night. Science Tuesday, we'll show that. A rocket attack reportedly taken place against a U.S. operations base in the gas fields in eastern Syria. The base is near the city of Deir ez-Zor. 91 aircraft and 12 naval ships of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, Navy, and Air Force conducted third day of drills in which they approached the median line between the Chinese mainland and Taiwan, with some crossing the line, resulting in scrambling of Taiwanese aircraft. So for 3 days in a row, China has been launching mock attacks on Taiwan. And this comes after the president of Taiwan was here in the United States talking with Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The Belgrade, which is the biggest submarine in the world, was seen being prepared to sail on satellite images. That's from April the 2nd. And why does this matter? Russian Ministry of Defense has announced that they have begun large-scale military exercises in the Arctic Ocean and across the Arctic Circle. That is the closest way of attacking the United States from Russia, is across the Arctic Circle. And the exercises are reported to include the strategic Russian K-329 Belgorod. And the Belgorod is, if you don't remember, or you're relatively new to the show, the Belgorod is the submarine which can carry 6 of the Poseidon nuclear drone doomsday torpedoes that create a zombie radioactive tsunami. Yeah, so there's that. And again, thanks to OSNet, Open Source Intelligence. This is brand new ABC News poll finds 53% of Americans believe Donald Trump intentionally did something illegal. An additional 11% said he acted wrongly, but it wasn't intentionally. He didn't intentionally pay off a porn star or defraud the government or, well, anyway, he's only been indicted for the porn star thing at the moment. Only 20% believe Trump didn't do anything wrong, and 16% say they're not sure. So 53 and 11, that's 64. An additional 16, that's 80. So 20% believe Trump didn't do anything wrong. According to John Cooper, this is the latest evidence that Trump support is finally collapsing. He's finished, done, toast. I'm not going to tell you what to think or how to think. I will say that I personally, I'm not writing him off as finished, done, or toast. But the poll is telling, I will say that. And to me, it's, the less his chance politically, the more his chance of sparking something violent. I think we ought to all remember that as we look at run through this a second time. Inmate John Mellis tells supporters that $500K in proceeds from their J6 choir song. This is just from the song, okay? This isn't money that's previously been missing that we talked about in that article a little bit ago from Conservative Daily. They were talking about millions of dollars that had already gone missing. Now an additional $500,000 just from this song is allegedly to have gone missing. And I'm sorry, I think that may be something to think about. Okay, going out on a limb. This is from Jeter. Going out on a limb. Jeter's a reporter, by the way, a writer for The Nation. Going out on a limb, I don't think you own Hitler's teapot because you have a deep, unquenchable hatred of Nazi ideology. There's something else at work, not necessarily Nazism, but some failure of taste, judgment, and historical consciousness, or maybe Nazism. Harlan Crow's Nazi memorabilia collection includes Adolf Hitler's teapot, engraved with a swastika and Hitler's initials, Adolf Hitler with a swastika right there, A-H. And why does this matter? Harlan Crow is the person that has given almost $750,000 worth of trips, luxury yacht vacations, private jet rides, other assorted gifts to Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who AOC is wanting to be impeached. Okay, and we've already played that once, but I want to play it again just in case you're just joining us and you missed it. This is how we started out. uh, I was fortunate enough to have, as a alternative journalist, fortunate enough to have been invited into a space and actually sit there and watch the inner workings of the Kremlin, because a group had hacked into their closed circuit TV. So I know the power that some of these people have. And when I was tipped that, hey, here's what's going down, um, the first thing that went through my mind is, this is a warning. This is an FAFO. This is, okay, look, here's the information that we're going to tell you we've got. We're going to let you wonder about the information that we're not telling you about, because the organization that is putting this information out, they're not going to just, they're not. They'll know who the J6 people are now. They'll know who the supporters there on the corner of J6 are now, because of the ties going up to Bannon. But they're not gonna bother with Santa or these these little grifters. That's not how it works. They're gonna cut heads off of organizations, not violently, metaphorically, and as they inform, they're going to do it electronically.
This is a message to the GOP from Anonymous. We gave you warnings. We gave you time to adjust your actions to meet the wants and needs of the people. In that time, you have used the majorities you hold in states to expel members of Congress. You passed laws to inspect transgender children's genitalia. You have overstepped, and now we can share what we did with that time.
By the way, it's not just transgender genitalia, it's all children's genitalia, to make sure that each person, the state that did that, sorry, apologies to Anonymous for interrupting the message.
Anonymous has a dark web database where information is posted to the world and the collective. I cannot say its web address here thanks to TOS guidelines. We are going to call this dark web database the bin. Marjorie Taylor Greene might recognize the passwords Bortz and Pruin 7 because MTG has had all of her information breached and posted on the bin. Lauren Bobert Blessed 77, you are on the bin. Clarence Thomas, your Pornhub account is on the bin. Remember, human rights and civil rights are not negotiable.
Okay. That is a look at our Twitter scroll for tonight. I'm going to hop back over here in the chat because I haven't been over here in the chat for a second. What do you think, chat? Is Anonymous a serious entity, or is this much ado about nothing? Can Lauren, could she actually have the exact same password for all of her accounts? I think probably so. Does Clarence Thomas have a Pornhub account? Is that the only information that is currently available or is going to be available? No, not even close. This could really be a serious FAFO moment for the Republican Party. Just throwing it out there. I'm not a hacker. I'm not, I can barely operate the show. That doesn't, I'm not one of those people that it's like, well, I can't do it, so nobody can do it. There must, if well, you know, if it was that easy, I'd be doing it. I don't imagine it's easy, and just because I can't do it, I'm not going to, for 1 minute, discount the fact that there are people that are incredibly capable of erasing bank accounts, erasing um, stocks, real estate holdings, social security number. Who knows? You know, it could be a situation that heard another message by another anon about exposures. Okay. I honestly, when I heard this yesterday, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and Republicans' hair is going to be on fire because they realize that, you know, oh my gosh, absolutely nothing is going to be secret, and it doesn't look like much is secure. I haven't heard anything. Now that doesn't mean it hadn't happened because I haven't heard it, but I keep a pretty close watch on what's going on. So maybe they don't know they've been hacked yet. Maybe it's, or maybe they do know and they've all like, oh, you know, we can't acknowledge this because we are incredibly vulnerable. I don't know. We'll find out. It's all data, easily accessible. It would scare the hell out of you if you knew. Much respect. I appreciate it. For real. Let's go to shoot, we didn't even do breaking news yet, did we? Okay. I did working backwards again, but that's all right. Just a quick look at what mainstream has as far as what mainstream considers the headlines breaking news. Louisville bank shooting, 5 dead, including the gunman, and a total of 9 injured. Wait a minute. Total of 9 injured, and 6 dead. One of them, somebody else passed away. No, one of the that was 19 minutes ago, was updated. So somebody else, I hope it wasn't that young police officer that we were talking about. But I just got kind of a thing in the middle of my stomach that maybe it was. That's from the Courier Journal. The New York Times, Pfizer CEO and other drug company leaders condemn the Texas ruling on the abortion drug. Why do they condemn it? Because this opens the door. What this Texas judge has done has basically opened the door for any doctor in the United States to file a lawsuit on any drug and demand that it be removed for reassessment. Pandora's boxes. They like to get opened. Nashville sends Justin Jones back to Tennessee House days after. Okay. This story, this is the Nashville story. Last week in Nashville at a Christian school, 3 9-year-olds and 3 adults were all killed, as well as the mass shooter. The kids in Nashville, the students, not just at that school, but all the students in Nashville took it personally, and they have been they've been rallying at the Capitol with some "fu fascist" chants at the Republicans in the halls of the State House. Now, the Democrats in the State House in Tennessee, 3 of them took part in one of these protests. and went as far as to go on to the floor of the Tennessee State House and protest the fact that the state representatives would not take up a discussion on gun control, let alone any kind of potential bills for any restrictions. They wouldn't even talk about it. And they tried to stop the three from talking about it. The three went ahead and talked about it. Two of them were removed, expelled from office. One of the three Democrats was not. The woman, a 63-year-old woman, white woman, was not expelled. Two younger black men were expelled. Today in Nashville, the Nashville Council, after a procedural vote, they held a special meeting today just for this. So they had to have a procedural vote to go ahead and proceed with this emergency vote to send this representative back. They voted, they sent him back. Again, he's a young black man. I fear personally that he's going to have a target. And I don't think it's necessarily a political target. This was about guns, and it's become about race. And to me, that's troubling. But that's my call on what's going on in Nashville. NBC News: leaked U.S. documents reveal potential weak links in Ukraine's military. For those that haven't heard about this, somebody in the Pentagon put a whole bunch of classified documents onto a gaming website chat board. All of that's under investigation, of course. Reuters: Russia violating international law by not allowing consular access to the journalist, the Wall Street Journal reporter that is being held. He's being held in Russia, charged with spying, and Russia's not allowing him to have any kind of legal counsel, which is a violation of international law. Politico: Biden to Al Roker: I plan on running for election. Biden has said that, but will not officially announce until probably sometime the summer of 2023. So that's what's happening with the mainstream. I got one more little headline here. Actually, I've got two. Let's start with this one. U.S. starts nuclear command and control exercise. Okay, North Korea has cut off communication with South Korea. We know North Korea has nukes now. Russia is coming across the Arctic Circle and bringing the biggest submarine in the world, which is capable of depositing the little drones, the drone atomic submarines, and all at the same time, we're going to have our own exercise. Strategic Command of the Armed Forces, the U.S. starts its annual nuclear command and control exercise, Global Thunder. That's tomorrow, April 11th. So, China is launching mock attacks every day against Taiwan. We're getting ready to have our own nuclear exercise. Russia's involved in a nuclear exercise. Syria is bringing troops to the border with Israel. As we showed in one of the stories, the United States Air Force, or the United States base in Syria guarding the gas wells, was attacked an attack which was thwarted. So there's a lot going on. And maybe we should take a step back as a people of the United States and not be so anxious to go to war with each other as some people seem to desperately be inclined to want to do. Just something to think about. This is something to think about too. Quote, what an odd thing to say for someone not being charged with treason, end quote. What are we talking about? If convicted, Donald Jr. will identify as a female so he can go to a women's prison to have more fun. This is from a podcast. Donald Trump's oldest son, much like his father, is not a stranger to controversy. Talking on the Full Send podcast, the businessman shared how he would identify as a female to have more fun in jail if he was convicted of treason. This obviously caused some responses. One Twitter user wrote, "Oh, don't worry, Junior. When you go to prison, you will most definitely be the woman." Another added, "Guess who never jokes about getting convicted for treason? Those who are not treasonous." So I just found that, a little oddity. And okay. Yes, I did cover that. One of the ousted Tennessee lawmakers heading back to the House, to the Tennessee State House, not the United States House of Representatives. So let me hop back over here to chat. Hello, Sam Singe. Hello, She-Hawk. Sable, watching people Winterfell. Julie. Those are just the ones that popped up here as I'm glancing in. Thank you all for tuning in. I missed Damnation Drive-In last night. Yesterday was Easter Sunday. I was busy most of the day. There's Al Munson. Red Death. Michelle. Anonymous user. Julie. Mwah. Again, thank you all. Hey, Nathan Brown. Everybody's saying hi to Lori. Is that? Yep, it's Lori Arnold. Love you, Lori Arnold. You know that. Curtis Caldwell, good night. Thank you for being here. Joe Mudson. It has been a minute, Julie. Okay, I got. As I said, I tried to get a guest. I couldn't get a guest for tonight. Monday's usually guest night when I want to get guests on, and next Monday I will for sure, because in just situations, a couple of people that would normally hop on here have some things going on, and I totally understand, and we'll get them on soon. But with yesterday being Easter, and of course a one high holy day in Christianity, I thought for a minute, there are so many different definitions of what is Christian, and there are so many different and unique denominations. I don't know. I think there's like 280 different Baptist denominations alone, but I've got a little thing here to play towards the end. I'm not going to start just yet. Okay. Chat. You keep doing chat. I'm not going to interrupt chat. You guys are having a conversation. You guys are having conversations. Do conservatives worship a different Jesus? Nathan, that is a fair question and a good question. I think for some, they don't worship a Jesus at all. They claim the label, just like they would claim MAGA, or they would claim patriot. But it really has very little meaning. It's more of something to prop themselves up, or more of something to legitimize themselves. When you're a kid, and you're a kid, maybe your parents don't have a lot of money, and you can't have Nikes, or you can't have Adidas, or you can't have a name brand that makes you, that legitimizes yourself in your own, they don't mean crap really, but in your own image, in your own mind, in your own inadequacies, insecurities, whatever it may be, you need that validation that I gotta have me some Nikes, or I gotta have me some, Adidas, or, whatever, that's the concept. A lot of people look at Christianity as that way, as a label, as I'm without knowing, let alone without understanding the rules. Jesus lays down the rules, and they're pretty simple, but they aren't talked about very often. And that's that. And I don't talk about that. I don't talk about it much on this program, because this is more news and information. I've got some episodes in a series that deal with some spiritual questions that people have asked, but most of the time I don't talk about it here. That doesn't mean that I might not have a platform in the future to talk a little bit about common sense and Christianity. Two things that should go together, but often don't. But anyway, that's what we call in the business a tease. That may be something happening in the future. This is 12 minutes and 9 seconds. All Christian denominations explained in 12 minutes. Now, as I said, I think there are like 280 different Baptist, different categories of being a Baptist. And in this, you're only going to get one category of Baptist. So I'm not sure how, and I haven't seen the whole thing, so I'm not sure how accurate it's going to be. But if you guys are involved in the chat, it'll give you something to hear in the background as you're chatting.
How do we tell
with
them
each
apart,
other.
aside from stereotypes that may or may not be true? To put it simply, they're all called Christian because they all worship Christ. They all agree who Jesus Christ is. He's truly human and truly God. He was born of the Virgin Mary. He died for our sins. He rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven and will return to judge the living and the dead. These are the essentials of Christianity, which are contained in the Nicene Creed, the early church document that all these different churches use. So they're similar in that they're all Christian, but they still have a lot of differences. Let's start with the Baptists. There's a lot that makes Baptists unique, but the main thing is baptism. Wait, no, not like that. Like that, yeah, they don't baptize babies, because they think baptism is a personal and individual choice. Most other Christians say baptism is what makes you Christian, but they think baptism is how you proclaim that you've already become Christian, by having a personal born-again experience, where you go from not Christian to Christian. So they're very individualistic, which is why they're most common in the southern United States, and it's all about a personal relationship for them. So that means the church itself and its religious rituals matter a lot less than having a personal relationship with Jesus. And the religious rituals the church does do, like the Lord's Supper, are really just symbolic. This is called being low church, where the church as an institution doesn't really matter that much. So because the church is really just a fellowship of individual believers, it doesn't really matter how the church is structured as long as they're following the Bible. So that means most independent or non-denominational churches are really just Baptist in terms of their beliefs.
What is the real story of January 6th? Many people have asked that question.
We're not going to do that commercial. Wasn't anticipating a commercial popping up that fast, but okay. So we have the Baptist being called low church. All right. I'm going to try not to, I've got to interrupt every once in a while and make a comment or an observation or something so that it is fair use. And I've never heard the Baptist denominations called low church, but okay.
Just a fellowship of individual believers. It doesn't really matter how the church is structured as long as they're following the Bible. So that means
heard that. No need to hear that again. Here we go. The Anglican, Episcopalians, Catholic Light.
They're run by a hierarchy of bishops, because the church is very structured. So they try to hold a balance between tradition, reason, and scripture. They're very eclectic, meaning they try to take the best parts from various other traditions, and that means they have a lot of diversity of belief. Some Anglicans seem more Catholic, and others seem more Protestant. And a lot of Anglicans see themselves as like a middle way between the two. So it's difficult to understand what Anglicanism really is, but don't worry, they don't understand it either. But yeah, so Anglicanism still has a very rich tradition, and a lot of the prayers and hymn books that people use come from Anglicanism. In fact, a whole new branch sprung out of the Anglican tradition, the Methodists, or Wesleyans. You know that little triangle the Anglicans have of reason, scripture, and tradition? The Methodists add a fourth point and turn it into a quadrilateral. They add spiritual experience because John Wesley's whole deal was he wanted the Anglican Church to be more spiritually active. Fire represents the Holy Spirit, which is why a lot of Methodist logos have fire in them. And of the three persons of the Trinity, Methodist thinking is centered a lot around the Holy Spirit who empowers us on the path, or the method that leads to righteousness. And we all have free will to join or leave the path. Free will is very important for Methodists. And at the end of the path is entire sanctification, where in this life we can improve so much that we stop sinning completely. And along this path there's a lot of service to the poor and working for justice, as we strive for spiritual perfection. And certain groups are...
Having been an ordained minister in the United Methodist denominations, I will confirm the fire in the symbols and the meaning of the fire. I'm not going to confirm that anyone thinks they can achieve perfection. I'm not. That's the first time I'd ever heard that. Everything else, I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, I've never heard that. But anyway, free will, yes. The path, having a spiritual path, yes. But the fact that you can attain perfection, no.
Rose out of Methodism that really focused on that part. The holiness movement says that if you really have the Spirit, you're going to pursue holiness. And the Pentecostals go a step further and say that that includes speaking in tongues. So groups that spawned from these movements include the Salvation Army, the ones that are always doing charity and stuff, the Church of the Nazarene, a big holiness denomination, the Redeemed Christian Church of God, another big holiness denomination from Nigeria, the Assemblies of God, a Pentecostal group, and the Church of God in Christ, a historically black American denomination. Alright, next up are the Lutherans. They're named after Martin Luther because they come right out of the Reformation, where Luther wanted people to preach the gospel. So basically, Luther thought the Bible had two messages really, law and gospel. The law explains that you're not good enough, but the gospel says that's okay because Jesus is. So Lutheran thinking of the three persons of the Trinity is centered a lot around Jesus and his gospel, and they want to make sure that the gospel message is pure. Are you looking to your own personal experiences to know if you're saved? Don't do that. You need to be looking to Christ. How do you know that what Christ did is for you? It was given to you in baptism, because baptism saves. Want to experience Jesus now? Again, don't look to your personal experiences. You need to look to something outside of yourself. Specifically, the Lord's Supper, where the body and blood of Christ are really present and given for you. That's right. When Jesus said, "This is my body," he meant it, because is means is. Seriously, you do not want to start a fight.
And this is why there are so many denominations. The little tiny things such as this, that they actually believe that the wine becomes blood, and that the bread is the body, instead of a symbolic gesture of wanting Jesus to be part of you by taking the sacraments. Is means is to them.
With a Lutheran about this. Now, some Lutherans didn't like how the Lutheran tradition was so skeptical of personal experience, and they wanted to focus more on it, so they became the Pietists, and that's how you get things like the Evangelical Free Church. Presbyterians are up next. They're also straight out of the Reformation, and their beliefs are called Reformed. Reformed thinking is very God-centered, so they probably focus most on God the Father. Specifically, God's sovereignty and God's covenant. The way God's in control of everything and the promises that God makes. Yeah, Reformed people use a lot of big theology words like infralapsarian, but the reason they use big theology words is because they're very focused on theology, because theology is the study of God, and they're very focused on God. They're theology nerds, and they're also kind of stereotyped as the nerdy Christians in general, and they're the most likely of all Christians to study science and stuff. But yeah, anyway, God's sovereignty and covenant are the lens through which the Reformed view all of Christianity. If God's in control of everything, that includes who will and will not be saved. Yes, Reformed theology is Calvinism, which is the idea that God's already decided whether or not you'll be saved. However, everyone forgets about this part of Calvinism, which is that baptism is a covenant promise that saves as long as you don't reject the promise. So salvation's still by faith alone. Reformed worship is also very regulated, so if you like speaking in tongues, altar calls, wild worship music, and images of Christ, don't expect to have fun at a Presbyterian church. Instead, you'll find very orderly worship, psalm singing, people sitting in the back of the church, and, of course, Holy Communion, where we do receive the body and blood of Christ, but he's not physically in the elements, we receive him spiritually. And Presbyterians aren't the only Reformed churches. There's also the Dutch Reformed, the Swiss Reformed, and maybe even the Puritan Congregationalists, who have basically the same theology. They're only different in terms of geography and history. There's also a big group of people that call themselves Reformed, but they're only defining Reformed as believing in predestination and not necessarily the other parts of Reformed theology. There's also a group of Protestants that were Protestant before Protestants existed. And speaking of which, all these groups that I've talked about so far are called Protestant. But what does that even mean? Is there anything that unites all Protestants? Yes, there are the traditional Protestant beliefs, but a lot of modern Protestants don't really believe those anymore. Especially because each Protestant tradition has liberal-leaning and conservative-leaning denominations that each have their own liberal and conservative factions within them, and the most radically liberal ones don't believe anything Christian anymore at all.
No.
Whoa, new ride?
Hang on.
Yep, we're cruising in style.
I can do this with... Got my glasses on. And skip that. Oh, there we go. And get back to it.
And there's others that make the news for their right-wing beliefs. Some Protestant churches look very traditional and similar to Catholics. Other Protestant churches look very contemporary and don't resemble a traditional church at all. So is there anything that all of these different Protestant groups agree on? Yes, there actually is one thing. It's that the Bible has more authority than the church. A conservative Lutheran would say both the Bible and church tradition have a lot of authority, but the Bible has slightly more. A fundamentalist Baptist would say the Bible has a lot of authority, and church tradition doesn't have any authority at all, really. A progressive pastor would say neither the Bible nor church tradition have much authority at all, but the Bible still has a little bit more given the church's history of patriarchy and colonization. And that's why there are so many different Protestant denominations, Because if the ultimate authority is the Bible and not the church, it's okay for the church to split if people have different interpretations of parts of the Bible. And for Protestants, that's okay. They can still be united spiritually as the church, and they can usually still take communion with each other.
I hope you're seeing that one of the big things is let's make it more complicated so that fewer people understand it. And there's a reason for that, but we won't get into that tonight. We will in the future.
Now, this idea is rejected by all the churches I'm about to go over because they all claim to be the one true church founded by Jesus and his apostles. And they think that the church assembled the Bible, so the Bible can't possibly have more authority than the church. The most famous of these churches are the Catholics. They think that St. Peter was given the keys to the kingdom by Jesus, making him the leader of the church, or the Pope, and that ever since him there's been an unbroken chain of popes leading all the way up to the current Pope. And the authority that Peter had is currently held by the Pope because of apostolic succession. It's all about authority for the Catholics. They think the church has the authority to forgive sins, cast out demons, and interpret the scriptures. So the church itself is the kingdom of God here on earth, and salvation is about participating in the church. So that's why they reject salvation by faith alone. They'd still say salvation is by faith, but faith includes cooperating with grace and participating in the church. Specifically through the 7 sacraments, the most important of which is Holy Communion, where the church has the authority to do a miracle called transubstantiation, where the bread and wine literally change into the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus. This is how we commune with Christ and all of his church, on earth and in heaven. Yes, they believe that saints that have died and gone to heaven are still part of the church, which is why they pray to the saints and the Virgin Mary, not out of worshiping them, but just like asking them to pray for us. What else do they teach? Well, it's a lot, so I can't really tell you, but you could look it up for yourself, because Catholics have an answer to basically everything. Catholicism really wants to figure out everything about everything, and that's how they helped contribute to the development of modern science. Now, the Eastern Orthodox are the exact opposite. They leave most things up to mystery, and they even try to define God in terms of what he isn't. And they say we can't even really understand what God is, we can only perceive God's energies through our mystical spiritual experiences. The Eastern Orthodox also claim to be the one true church, but they had a big nasty divorce with the Catholics about 1,000 years ago. It was about a lot of things, but the biggest one was about the Trinity. You see, all the churches I've already talked about have this model of the Trinity, where the Son is eternally begotten of the Father, and the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Father and the Son. But the Orthodox reject that the Holy Spirit proceeds from the Son, saying that the Holy Spirit only proceeds from the Father. Why? It's complicated, but the biggest reason is that it's not part of their tradition. And in Orthodoxy, tradition matters most. That's why all the trad people online often end up becoming Orthodox. So how does salvation work? Now, the Orthodox reject Western ideas of original sin, and they don't like to talk in legal terms the way that the Catholics and Protestants do. So instead they talk about theosis, where salvation is about oneness with God and uniting ourselves to God and sort of partaking in the divine nature itself. And that happens through the holy mysteries of the church. And there's another group of churches that claim to be the Orthodox churches. The Oriental Orthodox ones, these churches. You don't hear about them as much because they've spent most of their existence as islands of Christianity in a vast sea of Islam. And they're pretty similar to the Eastern Orthodox, so why have they been separate for almost 1,600 years? Well, you see, the Eastern Orthodox, along with all the other churches we've already discussed, say Jesus has 2 natures, a fully human nature and a fully divine nature. The Oriental Orthodox say that Jesus has 1 nature that's fully human and fully divine. I know, it's completely different. Okay, so that's pretty much all of them. There's some that I didn't include because it's unclear whether they believe the essentials of Christianity, and there's also some I didn't include because they very clearly do not believe the essentials of Christianity. But the vast majority of the churches do believe the essentials. And that's what's really important, because they do disagree on a lot, and there's a lot of diversity within these churches, but the fact that they all can agree on these essentials suggests that the essentials are true. And all this diversity is what we should expect from a religion that has covered the entire world over the course of 2,000 years.
So there we go. Oh. Okay, there we go. The 12 main branches of Christianity, if you will, in 12 minutes. 12 Oh. So what's happening, chat? How's everyone doing? There better not be a quiz on that. There's not, Max. There's not. There's no quiz on that. Okay, so letting it out. I think the writer of the video has an agenda and needs to go back and research the different denominations again with no agenda. Okay. Trump suckered all those people into attacking the Capitol and then left them in jail to rot. And people still love Trump. WTF? It's a good question. Doofus, what church were you associated with as a preacher? I was a preacher in the United Methodist churches. I served two different United Methodist churches, and as you saw, United Methodists are a very liberal organization that focuses on helping the poor and on social justice. So I don't think either one of those are going to be a surprise to anybody that knows me or has watched this show. Inclusive churches. My the minister of my United Methodist Church when I was a child told me that I would be a minister one day, that I would be serving the church one day for a short time. And my minister was a female. My first pastor in the United Methodist Church was a female. My last boss, if you will, the last district chairperson was a Black female. So, and she loved her to death. She was a fantastic woman. So that, yeah, it's an inclusive denomination and liberal, and again, focusing on helping the poor and seeking justice. Imagine how the Trump people felt when Trump pardoned Little Lake. Yeah. Community services had amazing music there. There were kids that they went to churches. When I grew up, there were kids that went to churches that, they didn't have music and they couldn't, you couldn't dance, and you couldn't, do a lot of things. The church I went into, we sang in the church and we danced in the church. And, the Bible talks about making joyous noises, to please the Lord, and dancing in exuberance to, to show that you're happy for your blessings. So I don't understand how man, primarily white men, by the way, have put their paws all over what should be a relatively simple arrangement. Jesus set it up for us to be a relatively simple arrangement. He gave us these instructions. It's called the Sermon on the Mount. And he basically tells us, here's what you need to do. And if you do these things, you're going to be good. However, those things aren't even taught most of the time in church, let alone a foundation of any basic Christian movement. But that's for another time. Where do the Mormons figure into this? They were listed as those that they were listed under the category of not believing the same thing other Christians believed. Yeah, they were listening into. Um, I don't remember the exact category, but basically it was um, the Mormons and the Jehovah Witnesses were both put into the not, uh, you know, not fundamentally Christian. I think was or something along those lines. I watched Jesus Christ Superstar, the musical from 1973 yesterday. Love that movie. Sassy Pants, Telescope and I had a phone conversation this afternoon for a few minutes, and we were talking about that. We were talking about that very movie, uh, about how good the soundtrack was to the film, um, as opposed to the soundtrack or the score, musical score that was used in the Broadway adaptation. How much better the musical soundtrack was. Um, Butterflies are free. Al doesn't sugarcoat anything. No, no. Al Munson does not. Sugarcoating is not in the canon of Al Munson. Every time Riddle eats, he commits gluttony. I think I don't remember who it was. Somebody mentioned somewhere in might have been a chat on Saturday. I wasn't on yesterday, um, but I think it might have been a chat site that David Rydell's trying to lose weight. That he's on a diet, so we'll see how that goes. There's Echo Romeo. He says Al Munson. Discounting Al Munson. Uh-oh. Do so at your own peril. Joe Munson, thank you for being here. Again, thank you all for being here. Everybody that's everybody in the chat, everybody that's currently watching, everybody that's restreaming, and everybody that is watching at a later time once this live is over and you're watching at your convenience. Thank you all whenever you may be doing it. Actually, Lori is probably the only one that knows. I think she's the only one I've ever shown the actual reach of this show. I showed her the numbers that YouTube shows that it shows to the public that the number that people are watching, the actual number of people are watching are a whole lot bigger than the number YouTube says is watching. The number that says publicly on their platform and the number that is in my studio, they're never the same. The actual numbers are much higher, so the channel gets shadow banned. What's that mean? Well, when you're scrolling and you're looking for something to watch and you see something that only has 375 views, and right next to it is something that has 800 views, you're probably going to subconsciously click on the one with more views because it means more people have already watched it and it must be worth something. So that happens. And plus, I've mentioned this. I don't know if anybody actually took it serious or not, but Lori's seen it. I get restreamed. I get restreamed all over the world, and there are 275,000 people watching all of us in Ukraine. So they're watching me. They're watching you in the chat. So, and not just Ukraine, but a lot of people in Ukraine started watching when we were covering the buildup, and we were actually on live the night that we were on live when Russia invaded, and we reported it live. So I thank you to everybody that watches, no matter where you're at, and those of you that watch, from other places around the world. I thank you, and I think it's really cool when you do reach out and email every once in a while. I know it's a hassle. I know we got banned in Russia. I know we got banned in China, and that was after we were first banned in North Korea, and that was for I made fun of the North Korean dictator, and they happened to be watching. Okay. And for those that, what? Well, the name's American Doofus. So American alone. People want to see the show that are from outside the country because it says American. And then they want to, once they do watch it, they either find it incredibly odd or funny, or at least the ones that have reached out to me. So yeah, we got people all over the place watching, and when I do my closing, the people that are Christian or the people that are American and non-denominational, they're like, why do you say all the stuff you do at the close? It's because I got people that are watching that are various different faiths. I've got Muslims watching. I've got Jews watching. I've got Hindus watching. I've got atheists, a lot of atheists watching. So it's to be inclusive. It's so that everybody feels like, hey, there is a place where at least we try to make it where everybody can be together. Because if our world falls apart, that's what it's going to become. We're going to have to be practiced at being able to get along with whoever we happen to be around that we're trying to survive with. And it's not going to, if all of that happens, it's not going to be perfect. And there's going to be horrific situations. But if we can learn to accept, and if we can learn to care about something other than ourselves, we might be better humans, and we might be better potential people to want to be around when it comes time to surviving. And who knows what tomorrow brings, let alone what next year may bring. So I think I'm going to end it on all of that. Banned in Russia, China, North Korea as a badge of honor. Yeah. And I really wasn't planning to get banned in any of them. Like I said, I did a little joke skit and made fun of a video of their leader in North Korea, and it was about how he watched too many Tom Cruise movies, and because he was out there with this leather and this, he was looking stupid, trying to look like Tom Cruise, and it just wasn't working. It was funny, but they didn't think it was funny. And then I was really shocked when I got the Russia and China both banned me on the same night, and I don't even remember. I didn't do anything. I mean, I think all I did was a story. But anyway, I'm not. There's a whole bunch of people in Russia and China, but I didn't have a lot of viewers there. Got viewers in India, of course, Australia and New Zealand, and throughout Europe. Blessed. I got viewers in Africa and Jamaica, and we had one from Great Britain earlier tonight, and yeah. So it's crazy the connection that can be established with this technology that we choose to utilize, called the internet. And lot of evil, wickedness, and hate and vileness on the internet. But there's a lot of laughter, a lot of good connections have been made, and anytime there's always hope. There's always positivity that can happen if you connect with the right people and the right things. And I hope you all do, whatever that means to you, whatever that may be to you. I hope you achieve everything you're looking for. I hope you are blessed with happiness and joy and contentment, and that you have enough blessings that you can share your blessings with others. That's my wish for you on a Monday night. I'll be back tomorrow night. It might be 9, it might be 10. Just look for the notification earlier in the late afternoon or early evening. I'll put something up as to when we're going to be on and what's going to be happening. But until then, until tomorrow night, I'll take my hat off to do this and do it right. Namaste, shalom, salam, assalamu alaikum. Blessings be upon you from the Most High, His Son, Christ Jesus, with the power of the Holy Spirit, if you so desire them. And if you don't, if you're not of any faith or of any spirituality at all, be a positive person. I love you. Positive vibrations to you. Peace be my wish to you. Much love to you. And I'll tell you what, everybody, it's a dark world. Try to be a light. I love y'all. Be a